How's everybody doing? I got my book. Oh, you know what? I didn't put my microphone in. I kind of wonder if it'll work. That's the question. I wonder if it'll work. Can you hear me? Test, test, test. 1, 2. I gotta trim my mustache a little bit. Yeah, here we go. How am I sounding? Am I sounding all right? Let's get more of a center thing going on. There we go, like that. Let's talk about some of your favorite movies, shall we? Let me know in the comments below what are some of your favorite movies. We can talk about them, what you like about them, why you like them, what they did for you. There's so many movies out there, so many movies, and there's so many indie movies as well that are so unheard of. It's crazy how many movies I worked on that are indie, unheard of, and how many movies I worked on that are super famous and heard of with top celebrities and things like that. Um, so Stray Kids is done. It's out there, and I'm glad. I'm glad that it's out there, and I'm done. I'm ready to move on. It's not something that's like, sure, I'm proud of it, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, thank God I'm done, because man, was that the epitome of climbing a mountain with like no gear, and you're just solo. You're just doing it on your own. It was tough. It was a tough climb. Did I learn a lot? Yeah, I learned a ton. I learned a ton, and I've made movies before that. I wanted to top myself. I've made movies before that. There were no budget. I think the most I spent was like $500 to $1,000, and Stray Kids I spent $5,000, so not a whole lot there. But I mean, it's true. The more money you have, there's just so much more you can do, and it's like Tarantino says, when you surround yourself with a team that are really exceptional, your movie is it's going to look 500 times better than anything you could have done by yourself. And it's just it takes the load off, because it's and Martin Scorsese says it. He wishes he could do it all, but it's impossible. You can't do it all. And it's just it gets to a point where you spread yourself too thin. And Stray Kids was me spreading myself very thin, but in a lot of ways I wanted to follow in the footsteps of the great filmmakers that came before me. I mean, Nolan did the same thing. He made following with working a daytime job, but and he did it on his friends on the weekends. That's exactly what I did with Stray Kids. Stray Kids was the kind of movie that was on the weekends. I had a day job. I was going to school. Rocket League I4H says, "Can I be mod, mod for you, model? I can advertise you." Sure, go ahead. Where are you from? What's up? Leah Heller 2411 said hi. What's up? It's Mir for life. It's Miri for life. Hey, what up? Welcome, welcome. I just released a movie that I made on my channel. It's called Stray Kids. The weirdest thing is that there's a K-pop group called Stray Kids, which is really annoying because I'm pretty sure I came up with the title Stray Kids before that was even a band. And so obviously they're a lot more famous and whatever, but that's not fair because I'm pretty sure I came up with the title first. I wrote it first. It took me over 15 years to make this thing on my own, but I did it. And there was a discussion on the table with a producer of mine. He was more of a producer who produced equipment and did half the cinematography. And Bob Dahl is a great collaborator of mine, and we had a discussion on whether to change the name because of that. And at the end of the day, he was like, "Don't change it. Just don't change it. I like it. Don't change it." And I was like, "I like it too. I don't want to change it." So, I didn't change it, but if anything, if it does come into question, if their legal team comes out and says, "Hey, you need to change your movie title because, our band group is called Stray Kids," I'll be like, "Well, first of all, you're a band group from Korea, and I'm a movie maker in America. A bit of a different thing going on. But yeah, let me know what your favorite movies are down below. Let me know what your movies are. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the movies that you like, your favorite movies. What movies have you seen that really, 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 really tickled you? Christopher in the house. S2B4F says hi. I say hi back to you. Put on my cool sunglasses. So right now I'm editing a music video. Music video by a cool band. Cool. They have an awesome, really cool band name. The sound is really cool sound. It took me 2 months to film, and I've been editing it. And I'm just waiting for the artist to finish the song. He needs to finish his vocals, and then I will premiere the music video on my channel. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for him to finish it, and no pressure though. No pressure. No pressure. If it takes him a month to finish it, fine. If it takes him another month to finish it, cool. 2 months, that's fine. But it gives me time to really mess with the edit. I'm really proud of the music video. I'm excited for it. I haven't done a lot of filming since Stray Kids. So you know, so yeah, I'm excited, and I've been thinking a lot about part two of Stray Kids. Stray Kids Part Two. I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been thinking a lot about how I want to look. I've been thinking a lot about different things that are like really adult, like adult stuff, like talking about tax rebates, tax deductions, build financing a movie, building a what do you call it? What do you call it? Well, anyways, Lane Wingham, mod me, please. What does that mean? I'm pretty old school. I was born in '86. So what does that mean? Fill me in. Mod me, please. Lane Wingham says, "What does that mean?" Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know what your favorite movies are, so we can talk about them. I've been going, ever since I finished it and released Stray Kids. I've been kind of just thinking more about movies and what movies influenced me. I've been looking at Tarantino a lot lately. And his stuff, Scorsese. I guess Scorsese and Tarantino are like my two top favorite directors right now. Although I really appreciate Nolan and Anderson. Anderson, not so much. What's his name? Paul whatever Anderson, whatever his name is. I don't really like him as a director. Not really. I really don't. Um, Lane Wingham says SpongeBob. Oh, snaps. Which one? The newest one or the one that was like a couple of years ago? Because I'm pretty sure there's a new one, right? That's coming out or came out. SpongeBob, huh? I'm a fan of SpongeBob, believe it or not. I grew up watching that cartoon because the cartoon itself reminds me of the old school cartoon Ren and Stimpy. Kind of has that feel to it, a little bit. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of SpongeBob. It's silly. I like it. Um, anyways, here we are, folks. Here we are, folks. I'm studying about tax rebates, tax deduction, and all that good stuff. Film financing, things that really nobody tells you to go learn, right? So I'm a solo filmmaker. I'm not Sundance. I'm not, I'm not anybody. I don't have like a dad who was a star or a producer or a rich uncle. I'm just a poor boy living in a trailer, and I do my best with what I have, And the best thing I can do is armor myself with knowledge. Lane Wingham says, "Big guy, big guy. SpongeBob, big guy pants. Okay, SpongeBob, big pants. Okay." Well, I haven't seen the new SpongeBob, so I can't really comment on it. Um, but it's on my list. It's on my list of things to do. But yeah, so I do these things every morning, where I read a encouraging like quote for the day, and so pretty soon I'm gonna run out. I'm gonna run out of those quotes, and I'm gonna start a new line of quotes. It's called "Unleash the Beast Within." I'll start this here in a week or so. Yeah, probably a week, and they seem pretty cool. There's about 50 cards. So I'm going to read one every single day in the morning. I'll give you a little example what they kind of look like. Kind of badass. What does it say? It says, when you want to quit, remember your team is watching. Show them what relentless looks like. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, comes in this nifty little can. I like it. There's 50 cards, so 50 days right here. Conquer your mind. 50 cards to break down internal barriers and unleash your full potential. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. So do that daily. Right now, I'm doing one called Crush Your Goals. And I guess I only got 5 more cards left on that one. Then I'm done. Then I'm done. But you guys know I published a book. Just to remind people that I published a book. It's called Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema, Filmmakers, Actors, and the Future of AI in Film. I interview AI researcher. I interview some of the top working independent actors, directors, producers in Oklahoma. Right here in this book. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm writing a second book this year. You can buy this off Amazon for $14.99 plus shipment. I'm gonna write a second book, but it's not gonna be the follow up to this. I'm gonna write a second book. It's actually gonna be a motivational book. It's gonna be tied to Stray Kids and the struggle a little bit. I'm not gonna go into Stray Kids too much, but about the struggle of it. You know, the 15 years that it took to make it. Uh, Pretty crazy journey. I mean, over 15 years, and just the resilience that goes behind anything you do in life. Anything you do in life, you really want to see it through. You have to have the resilience and really be relentless in getting it done, right? So now, my goals are as a filmmaker have shifted. I think for me, Stray Kids was like to prove to myself that I could do it in a sense, with what little I had. And it was to really showcase to myself how much of an understanding I have of cinema and the lack of thereof. But at the same time, like I said, a lot of these directors who make movies these days, all they do is copy other directors. They have a huge budgets. They have crew that really do everything for them. Stray Kids was a solo thing. I did everything, and it was out of necessity. It was out of necessity because there was no budget, and it's like Tarantino says, Scorsese says, even Nolan says this. All the great directors say making films is your film school. I didn't go to film school. I did go to college, but it wasn't a film school. I didn't go to film school. I tried to apply to film school, and so there was one that accepted me, but it was it was ungodly cost. It cost so much, like it was insane. There was no way my parents could afford it. I couldn't afford it. So at the end of the day, I was just kind of like left on my own to just do it the way I had to and whatnot, and to really pursue what it is I have a calling for. Like I wouldn't do this if I didn't have that artist inside of me that's just like, do this, or you're gonna implode, you're gonna blow up. Like that's just how it feels. It feels like it's such a weird thing to be like, you need to do this, you need to do it, you need to do it. And Scorsese talks about this too, how, and it's so true. It's so crazy how I can start more or less start to relate to these directors in a lot of ways, because it's everything they say is so true. Scorsese talks about the sacrifices you make, which will, it will affect your relationships in life. And it's so true. It's affected my relationships in a way that it it kind of depresses me, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. The fact that I can make this art. Um, maybe not. Maybe I would trade it. To have like a wife and kids and all that. But to me, all that went out the window when I was 13. I had cancer, and at that point I couldn't have kids anymore. And so, and at 13, I already knew I wanted to do something in film. I was already playing with a VHS camcorder, making little movies and stop animation, things like that. So I already knew, and I got a little sidetracked. I got a little sidetracked here and there. with like music. I love music. I got into music. I wrote music for 3 years, 6 years, 3 years. I did 3 years playing in a band and did all that. So that sidetracked me from movie making. But at the same time, I was kind of sick of making movies on my own. At that point, when I got into band, I already made my tons of zero budget movies on my own. They weren't that good, but I was really the only one in town doing them, which was crazy. A lot of everyone else was spending like 10 grand, 15, 20, which is pretty usual. But there was really nobody doing what I was doing back in the day. And people were impressed at first, but that kind of went to the wayside when there were actual people who were spending money making movies that were actually going places in festivals. They started getting more notoriety, and then I got kind of pushed to the side. And then you had more of a filmmaker in Oklahoma that got picked at Sundance, and he got picked, but he wasn't like talented. He was just picked because he was Native American, and so Sundance pretty much developed this filmmaker to who he is today. And you could kind of say the same thing about Tarantino. Tarantino was a Sundance filmmaker. He got picked, and I think he did the director's lab and all that stuff. And like nobody talks about that, but it's true. Sun if you get into Sundance and you it's kind of like a like get out of jail free card in a sense, or like it felt that way when I was going to college. When I was going because when I was going to college, and I would go make a movie. I would be like, well, I'm a college student, and that kind of worked for a while, until I graduated and I didn't have that anymore. I couldn't go to places and go, well, I'm a college student, and so I don't have the money. Now it's like I don't have an excuse. I don't have anything to say like, oh, I'm just a guy making a movie, and that kind of flies. It kind of doesn't. But I think now that I have Stray Kids out, it's taken me so long. It's kind of a bit of a calling card. I can be like, well, here's my work. Here's what I did with absolutely nothing, and I still was able to finish it, and which is you know I can, which is like something that is pretty impressive because there are a lot of people who want to make films and they don't, they get sidetracked, they can't finish it, they can't get it off the ground. So for the fact that I was able to do it, get it off the ground, actually shoot it, put it together, package it, do all this stuff to it, edit it, do everything myself, it's actually really impressive, and I don't want to downplay that because not a lot of people can do that. And that's not just the honest truth. Not a lot of people can do it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. You have to be. I mean, people can do it, but it just takes so many sacrifices, and there are people that are not willing to make those sacrifices, and I am willing to make those sacrifices, to be able to push myself in this thing that I keep getting called to do. I am the black sheep of the family. I am the artist. I am the guy whose soul is burning and in pain and tortured. And so I think a lot of it makes sense that I'm growing up to be an artist. I'm growing up to be a filmmaker. I love writing, but I'm very selective when it comes to writing. I'm not writing all the time. I did study the heck out of it. I understand it. I know the mechanics and all this stuff, but it's not like I love to do it. I much more love making movies, but you need to know how to write if you're gonna make your movie. And the thing is, like, I don't have my finger on the pulse of culture. So that's one thing that's kind of been lacking with me. It's more or less for me making a movie or making Stray Kids was more about, it was more selfish. It was like, well, I want to make a movie that I want to see, and that I would find interesting and whatnot. And a lot of what I got inspired from with something like Stray Kids was like old movies, old school movies like The Warriors, Mean Streets, Rumblefish, things like that. And when I make part two, I'm going to elevate it tremendously. I'm probably going to watch those movies over and over and over and watch other movies that inspire me, watch other movies in that same genre and see what I can do to add to the conversation, to add to the artistry of that kind of genre of, and just see, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about part two already. I've been thinking about Stray Kids part two. Jack White lives in Tulsa, and I've even imagined in my head how cool would it be to work with Jack White. He could be one of the leading villains in the movie. and maybe I can get another well-known name in the movie, to be in Stray Kids 2. But Stray Kids 2 is definitely something I want to elevate to a point where it has a budget. I've never made a movie with a budget. So it's definitely, now that I'm older, I kind of feel like I could manage it and do it and actually do this. But at the same time, I just feel like I need some people on my team that are going to be, responsible with that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm serious. I'm totally serious. Jack White lives in Tulsa. He loves Kane's ballroom. He likes to play here and perform here. So if I can figure out a way to convince him to play the lead, like kind of like the lead villain in this movie. He's not necessarily the lead villain. He's like a side character who is working for the lead villain, but he's also doing his own thing. He's like a character that he's a hired gun, but at the same time he's got like a moral code, right? So he ends up not killing the main character. He ends up actually helping him out. So I would love for Jack White to be in part two, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been thinking a lot about part two, and even if Jack White doesn't do it, if I can't get a hold of him or I can't figure out a way to convince him to do it, I'll find somebody to play that part. But yeah, it's crossed my mind so many times. And there's an opportunity to work with other actors. Who knows if I get somebody like Jack White to sign on to part two, I definitely can imagine other actors would be like, oh yeah, I want to work with Jack White. That'd be awesome. So yeah, there's a possibility of getting more names on it. But I find it to be very important that whatever I do next, it has to be in a way something that's going to push myself to this next level. I'm going to have to do it. I'm at a point where it's like there's no going back now. Like I have to really push myself to this point. And I just I'm dreaming bigger, I guess you can say. And the film I have in my head that I see for part 2 is way out there. It's freaking way out there. It's very technical, and I don't see filmmakers working in this manner. All the things that I've done in the past, I'm pretty much everything, all the tricks, everything I came up with other movies. I'm basically putting it all into one movie and some. So I'm actually going to be exploring some interesting things that I can do for storytelling. You know, but I really want to stay away from modern filmmaking because every modern film looks the same. I don't like that. I don't like that how every modern film looks the same. I'm not for it. I'm not trying to follow a trend. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm just going to make it the way that I know how to make movies and my visual style. And I'm just going to keep expanding on that. And Stray Kids has a feel to it. It has a tone. It has a feel. It's supposed to be like an old film kind of movie where it looks like it was shot on actual film. It's the kind of movie that's like it's meant to look like it's trashy. That somebody. It's like it looks like an old film that somebody found in the back of a movie theater that was shut down. It's like, oh look, we found this old film from the 1970s. That's the tone and feel of Stray Kids. And so I want to continue that style with Stray Kids Part Two, but even push it even more. Um, it is kind of selfish to be like, well, I have a vision and I want to stick to it because I think a lot of filmmakers make movies to like satisfy an audience. Where in this case, Stray Kids 2, yes, I am thinking about an audience, but also it's not about just satisfying them. It's about intriguing them. It's about showing them something different, and just kind of just blowing their mind. It's something they've never seen before. So that's what I'm thinking is doing actual art with film. Not just commercial, not just cookie cutter, not just hurry up and shoot it and put it on the editing table and get it done. Although I would hate for Stray Kids 2 to take 15 years, I hope that's not the case. I hope that it just takes a year because if I'm able to get a big budget behind it, we could shoot it. I can storyboard it. Do pre-production. I can shoot it. have a team that helps me shoot it, have a team that helps me edit it with my description of what it's supposed to look like. At the end of the day, and that's the thing. That's kind of where I'm at. And I was never really confident to be in this place in the beginning without having done Stray Kids, like the first, without releasing it and putting it out there and actually getting it done. I wouldn't have this level of confidence. And so there's something to be said about making movies on your own, your failures, your struggles, the thing that just could almost got you to the point of quitting. Those experiences are what is now has brought me to this point in my life where I'm ready to go on to the next level of filmmaking. And so I'm I take a lot of suggestions from everybody that came before me. All the big filmmakers living today, how they always say, shoot your own movies. Shooting your movies is your film school. You learn by making your own movies. It's true. It's really true. You learn, and then you want to do better next time. And so you think about how you can do better next time. You think about your process a little bit more. You want to be more technical, more detailed. You want to push yourself. You want to outdo yourself. You want to outdo your last movie, and you want to just keep growing as an artist. So that's where I find myself. I find myself with that confidence, and now it's really just about putting the words, and to the test, and walk the walk. It's not just talking, it's doing the walk. But like I said, a lot of filmmakers, or at least people who want to be filmmakers, are get stuck at the point where they can't find financing, either because the script isn't strong enough, or they don't know how to write a script in the first place, or people don't understand the vision. Now I'm because Stray Kids is done, I'm like, well, I have the confidence now to be like, well, look, this is where I come from. You can even go back to all the other movies I made. You can go back to like Boxes, which is like one of the first movies I ever made, uh, and all the other rest, and Hatch, which was like something that I was about to quit filmmaking with Hatch. After I made Hatch, I was very close to quitting filmmaking because I wasn't finding an audience. I wasn't doing well with film festivals, and finally I won a huge award for Hatch, and it turned everything around. And I was like, okay, maybe I should continue. And I find myself with Stray Kids, and kind of the same thing with Stray Kids. I found that I came very close to quitting. I think I even took a break from Stray Kids and worked on something else, worked on other short films because I went back to school. I went to TU to get my bachelor's, and so I did that. It took me 2 years to get my bachelor's, and I worked on short films. I ended up making two anthologies of short films of all my work, and then suddenly I got my like bearings back, and I was able to finish Stray Kids. So it just there was a lot on my plate, and so now there's like my plate is wiped clean. It's like I have all this time now. Like, what am I gonna do? I wrote this book. So like it's just one of those things where I have time. I'm an artist, and as an artist, you want to stay busy. You want to keep creating. You don't never really want to stop. And when I don't have anything on my plate, it feels like I'm not getting anything done. Even though as an artist, sometimes it feels like you're not getting anywhere. But it takes time to evolve. It takes time to find recognition. It takes time to overcome failures, to learn from them. Everything takes time, especially when you're doing it on your own without any guidance. So yeah, I'm at the point where I'm definitely a unique kind of a beast when it comes to being an artist and filmmaker, because I've done it all on my own and without any guidance. It's taken me longer than most filmmakers, and it's not a complaint. It's definitely more just in recognition of the fact that this is a very hard thing to do. Very, very hard thing to do. And if you're not with the right people, you don't have the right people guiding you, it becomes a very daunting task, a task that seems impossible. So, I'm learning the business aspect. The business aspect is the thing that's been kind of kicking my ass. So I think now with all of that, with my past and my history of making movies and knowing what I can do, I feel a lot more confident, more than I have ever had before. And so I think as an artist, I don't want to do just commercial stuff. I don't want to, it does. It's like, well, if I want to make money, I should do commercial stuff. But it's not, to me, it's never about the money and making money. That I can do with other stuff. I think at the end of the day, filmmaking for me, it is truly a craft and truly an art form that's like superior to all art forms. And to me, it was very important to get a grasp of it, understand it, master it intellectually, and push myself as a craftsman and artist. So now, like I said, I find myself in a position where I can either do something completely different, or do part two, continue the story, continue those characters, get new characters in there, but also do something different with what I already got accomplished. And that's what I'm thinking now. I'm thinking a lot about what can I bring to part two? How can I top part one? So that in a lot of ways it's a standalone movie. In a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, no, it's part two. It's continuing. So it's kind of interesting thinking about that, and I'm gonna look at different movies that inspire me. Boondock Saints, Buffalo '66, Rumblefish. Movies like that that really inspire me. Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, things like that, and see what I can do with that, and how those things can inspire me, and and see where I can take it. See where I can take it. Is this thing on? So that's where I'm at with things. I like my new glasses. These aren't that new. I've had these for a while. But here I am, folks. Here I am. I am going to do art courses. I'm doing a painting. I'm doing a painting of my next two paintings are of David Spade and Jerry Seinfeld. David Spade's going to be in Oklahoma next month, and Seinfeld will be here in March. So those are the two paintings I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can get them signed, and they're going to go to the movie theater. They're going to hang there, and so that would be 12, 14 paintings. I do want to do a painting of this guy. What's his name? Vern. He played Ernest. I forgot his Vern something. He played Ernest. Ernest goes to jail, or all these stuff. So it's more of a tribute. It's not to get him to sign it because he's already dead, but it's more of a tribute painting. I did one of Pee Wee Herman, so I thought it'd be kind of fitting to do one of Vern. He was a tremendous entertainer back in the day, and he was from Oklahoma, so I might as well do that. So those are the three paintings I'm thinking about doing. I know I will do them. But you know what I really want to do though, if I'm really serious about making money, I'm thinking about selling, because some of them are signed by the actual actors and whatnot. So and some of them are like they were famous back in the '90s, and some of these people have been in huge movies, and some of these people have passed away that I got their signature before they did. I want to sell the whole painting collection. This is going to sound crazy, but it'd be a way to raise money. But I would love to sell the entire collection of paintings that I did for $100,000, $100,000, or $100,000, or whoever wants to pay more than that, can take it. Kind of like an auction for the whole thing. That'd be an amazing way to raise funds for a movie. Selling art, like very exclusive, one of a kind pieces that are signed by actors and whatnot. It's a super rare collection. You're not gonna find a collection of paintings like these. So, and they're done by me, which is interesting. Being a filmmaker and all this stuff, it'd be interesting if you know you know, I want to do the best possible job. I want to be able to make a movie that is on par with something that people go, "Oh yes, an American staple of our generation." That's a really crazy thing to say, but I would love to get to that level of technicality and that level of expertise and professionalism and quality. It's something that I would never have said until now. Like I said, there's a level of confidence that comes with finishing a movie like Stray Kids. Stray Kids was so enormous, and still it's not like the best thing in the world, you know. It's not the one. It's not the one, you know. So there's still a lot for me to do. I feel like my creativity and my soul is begging me to make part two and to do it in a way that's going to be much bigger, you know. And so that's where I'm at with things. It's going to be interesting, you know. I'm going to spend this year, I'm going to take the time to write out part two. I have a pretty good general idea of how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to go, but I always surprise myself in the writing process because once you have the characters themselves take on, you know, the story. They're the ones that now drive the story. So, you know, I'm always surprised at what they do, you know. So I am gonna work on the characters, and like I said, I would love for Jack White to be like one of um the hired gunmen in this movie. Somebody who doesn't talk very much, you know, somebody who's just he's kind of like he's not crazy like the Joker or anything. He's just very reserved. You wouldn't have known if he was a gunman, an assassin, you know, that kind of thing. You know, he wears a big overcoat and a hat, fedora type hat, red sunglasses. Maybe not red, but yeah, I just think it's funny because like I'll think of a person, like I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, for some reason, Jack White kept popping in my head. Like he's the guy. He's the guy who's going to be in your movie, and I'm like, what? That's insane. That'd be insane. That'd be sick if he was. You know. So you know, and I like his videos. He's done on so many music videos, and him as a character and him bringing his style, it would be very interesting. You know, and unique. And so who knows where a collaboration could go if I was able to work with Jack White and do this movie, and have him be able to also add his influence on the movie would be very interesting because he's such an artist himself, you know. So that'd be very interesting, very 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 interesting to do. But you know, I have to write a good script. In order to write a good script, you know, I have to have good characters, and I need to have something to say. I need to have a good theme, you know, and I need to have good character arcs and the structure I already have in my mind. I know how it's gonna go. So now at this point, I have a good idea of how the structure is gonna go, but I still want to experiment with the structure and really mess with it and just try to do something new with it. You know, it's gonna be hard to do, but at the same time, I'm willing to go there. You know, I'm willing to go there. So here we are. Yep, here we are talking about writing another feature film. I've written some. I've written some sci-fi and some other projects, but they're not really calling me to make those yet. I think those are things that I'll probably make a bit later in life. Um, but right now, yeah, what's calling for me to do for me, like what's calling at me, calling at my soul, tugging at it is Stray Kids Part Two. Because Stray Kids One doesn't end; it ends open ended, as they say. It's not a finished movie. So and I did that on purpose because I thought about doing a part two, and originally we had shot about 6 hours of footage, um, that we could have made two movies, or Bob had suggested we do 10 minutes at a time and put it out as a series, but I didn't want to do that, you know. And so what I ended up doing was cutting out a bunch of stuff and putting it all together in a way where all the fat was cut out of it, you know. And one of the most important scenes I left as a montage and made a short film out of that important scene. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why I did that, to be honest. Looking back, I kind of wish that scene was back in Stray Kids because it was such a crazy climatic moment, you know. But I know why I did it. I did it because the Stray Kids was too long. It's 2 hours, and It's more than it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's a very long movie. And in order to shorten it, I had to cut that kind of down. Um, but anyways, yeah, here we are, folks. Here we are. Tomorrow, I'm gonna work on the music video and do a little work on that, and then I need to get started on the painting. I need to get started on working on the David Spade painting. It's gonna be of him and Joe Dirt. It's gonna be a Joe Dirt painting. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait. I need to go ahead and buy my ticket. He's gonna be in town next month, and not in town, but in Oklahoma City. So I got to buy my ticket so I have it, and I'm gonna finish the painting. I'm gonna go to the show and see if he'll sign it. And of course, I'm gonna call up the place and let him know that I have a painting and what it's for and why I'm doing it. Again, it's for a movie theater. At the end of the day, there's a family-run independent movie theater here in town that I do a lot of work with, and my way. Another filmmaker said it. Actually, they said it was it the Oscars last year or this year? I don't know. I don't really watch the Oscars to be honest. But they said how important it is for filmmakers to contribute to local independent movie theaters, and I believe that. And so that's what I've been doing with this local movie theater is really it's like my home. It's like my second home, and they're like my family. So, and I love that place. Absolutely love that place. And so yeah, yeah, why not? Why not? I'm doing all the things they say you need to do, So I feel like I'm on the right track. The only thing I haven't done is dived into the whole money thing. That's just one thing I haven't done. I haven't dived into that. I haven't dived into doing working with SAG, union regulations. I haven't done that, so it'd be like two birds, one stone. Whenever I have enough of a budget, I guess I'll work with SAG regulations. But I, my thing is I'm not so much worried about SAG regulations as I am just creating a budget and creating a business plan. I've never really created a business plan for a movie, so that's really my next step. And to me, it was really about getting a handle on the craft because it's a very difficult craft. It's taken me a long time. So I'm at a point where, yeah, I have a handle on it, but to me, the next step is business plan, having people help me finance it, finding experts to work along with, and finding big names to be in it, and and actually finish it and put it out there. So, that's big stuff. That's really big stuff there. That's big stuff. That's nothing to sneer at, and it's taken me a long time to get here to get with that confidence to have that confidence. But every filmmaker is like on their own path, every artist. If you're not a filmmaker, you can be an artist of any kind. You're truly on your own path, and it's about how much time you devote to your craft. It's about, how long does it take you to learn from your failures? How long does it take you to destroy your ego, because that will get in your way. You'll get in the way of you learning and expanding and collaborating. How long will it take you to be in the right mindset, because sometimes we're depressed and this and that, and other people may have affected us in a negative way, which could cost you years. And so it's about the mindset. It's about accomplishing enough to you feel confident about having a good handle on the craft. It's about studying and training and always learning and watching movies. For me, is keep watching movies. It's all I do is watch movies. And I love it. And I don't just watch them, but if you've seen my channel, I'll go deep. I'll watch a movie and go deep. I'll do a review, not just like a 15-minute review. I'll spend an hour talking about it and breaking it down. Um, so yeah, I'm really into movies. really into movies, music, and all that stuff, painting and all that stuff, And I think for me, I had a hard time accepting my path too. My path as an artist. It was a path that a lot of people were like really against it, and it's a path that's a very poor. It's a poor man's path. I've been poor like all my life, and so um, I need to get a good grasp of this whole money situation. I need to get a grasp on how to make money. I need to get a grasp on a good business plan, the financial aspect of it, the deductibles, the tax rebates, all that stuff. I'm not really interested in making money from movies, but I am interested in getting them financed in a big way where everybody gets their money back and some, And the and some can come from distribution, right? But I myself, I'm not interested in walking away making tons of money. If it happens, it happens. But my thing with money is that I'll figure out a way to make money, either through my books or whatever, or maybe my YouTube channel gets monetized. I don't know. Maybe I get hired to direct a commercial movie, which I'll be glad to do, to actually make some money, or I sell a script that I can, make some money, but I'm not there yet. I've always been poor. I've always been struggling. I don't have rich uncles or rich family members, that can just throw money in my face. And like I know a lot of people whose parents are judges. Like there's a guy whose dad is a judge and has like a doctor as a mom, and so he's been able to make a lot of movies, being financially backed. But I'm not saying that like, oh, he has it easy. No, not at all. It's easier, sure, when you already have people that are connected into different circles, and they say if you're trying to finance an independent movie, you got to find doctors and dentists and professionals with a lot of money. But see, I was always kind of too afraid to do that because I never felt confident as a filmmaker. I still wanted to prove myself, and I've done that with Stray Kids. I feel, it's not the best thing on the planet, it's not like the one for me, um, but it's definitely moved the needle forward for me. It definitely has. I can always point Stray Kids and be like, well, here's what I did with absolutely nothing. Okay. And so even that, even Stray Kids itself is, if you look at Tarantino's movie that he did with absolutely nothing, it's a piece of shit compared to mine, So that should say a lot already, and I'm not saying like I'm a better filmmaker or anything like that, but I'm just saying if you were to take Tarantino's movie that he made while he was working and he financed himself and did everything himself, what was it called? It was called like My Friend's Birthday or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a pile of trash. If you look at Nolan's movie, The Following, which is he did the same. It's a much better film, but it's still not quite there, but it is a much better film. But if you look at Stray Kids, for a movie that I did on my own, that I worked on weekends, it's actually really decent. And so again, not the one, but still, it's a lot better than Tarantino's first movie that he ever did. It took him 3 years. It's pretty horrible. I would say it's pretty on par with the following that Nolan did on his own. But I'm not going to compare that because even following is a really good movie. Compared to Stray Kids, it's not as good as following. But Stray Kids, like I said, is decent enough to be able to say I did that with nothing and whatnot and on my own is pretty incredible. Um, so, granted, the tools are different. I use digital cameras versus using film. I've never been able to use film. I never got the chance to use it. The only time I got to mess with film was when I was a projectionist at a movie theater, and I got to switch out movies and put them on the big slabs, and if they got messed up, I had to like fix them real quick and splice teasers and whatnot to the movies, to the other films. Anyways, yeah, that I mean that's a whole process. That was the only time I handled actual film footage, which was really cool. It made me feel like I was part of the whole film making situation altogether. But once everything got digitalized, movie theaters don't do film. They have the IMAX, but everything's a hard drive nowadays. So that magic of flicker is gone. Movies are projected through digital projectors, and that flicker that you get from 24-hour frames an hour is gone. That organic feel from movies is totally gone. It's all digital. The only way you're able to get that now is through experiencing either through independent movie theaters that still project film or the IMAX. But it's sad to see that go. And I'm sure they saved a lot of money in the long end, but at the same time, there's that magic that's gone. It's like the films. It looks like you're just watching television. Kind of bizarre. But anyways, yeah, Stray Kids is available to watch right now. You can watch that for free on my channel. It took me 15 years to make. I've been thinking about part two a lot. I think I'll spend the whole year, 2026, writing part two. I'm not sure how long it'll take me. When I wrote part one, it took me a few years to actually write out, but I was still learning how to write scripts. But still, there's a whole thing. There's a whole thing. You spend time on characters, you spend time on archetypes, you spend time on character arcs, you spend time on theme, then you spend time on plot points and this and that sequences, and you know your movie touches on the theme, and so there's a lot to think about when it comes to all that, and the style, and all of that. And films are interesting. It's an interesting beast, and they're always changing. And so even though the mechanics of storytelling are all there, it's a testament to the creator, to the artist, of what they can do with all of that. So I'm curious what I can do with Stray Kids Part Two. I know it's going to be more surreal than the first one. The first one's more neo-realistic, and so part two is going to be a little more surreal, which is like going to be a lot of fun for me. Just because making movies that are appearing realistic can be kind of boring. So to venture off in surrealism is going to be a lot of fun. Visually, the technical challenging aspects of doing surrealism, it will be a lot of fun. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot. And I've experienced doing stuff like surreal short movies and stuff that I've done, short film, experimental, when I was in college. And so I want to be able to bring that to a feature film, and take what I know about structuring scripts and taking this surrealism and challenging myself as a filmmaker with things that I'm going to be like, well, how the hell am I going to do that? That's where I want to be. I want to be not safe where, oh, we're just going to shoot this scene, that scene, and it's all just dialogue and this and no. I want to challenge myself cinematically, and challenge myself where I go, well, how the f am I going to create this? This seems impossible. No one's done this. So I'm thinking in terms like that, or else I don't want to shoot it because it won't be fun. It won't be fun to just make a bland movie where it's not pushing the limits. It's not testing me as an artist. There's no real creativity to it. I really want to push myself with this and really think about how it's going to look. I'm going to storyboard it, obviously, and do it in a very, very detailed way that I've never done before. I do storyboards, but they're lightly sketched out. It's not super detailed. I do put camera directions, I do blueprints, but I'm gonna go full out in whole details with how I want things to look. Um, shooting some. There's gonna be a lot of green screen stuff I'm gonna be using. Not necessarily because I'm doing CGI, but it's because some of the shots will require like two different speeds of things happening on screen. And so I'm going to mess with people's minds with how things are operating, the different speeds, the different lighting. I'm definitely going to shoot in black box studio settings to have fun with lighting, spot lighting and things like that. There's things I want to do with characters that shrink, because they're either falling into an abyss or things like that, which we've seen here and there, but I still want to do it in my own way, and it's just something I really want to take it very far as storytelling goes, and how I can do that in new creative ways, uh, I do want it to have a bit of a comic book feel. I've always liked that kind of style of filmmaking. Stray Kids kind of has a little bit of a comic book feel, but it's only because it's been storyboarded. Um, and so for this part two, I definitely wanted to have a comic book feel. It's gonna be pushed more, done more, a little more obvious, you know. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I can do this. But it's definitely, now that I'm done with part one, it's just definitely it's taking over. I'm becoming a lot more obsessed with part two, with more than anything I have going on in my life. I'm becoming completely obsessed with part two. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be super interesting to see where this goes, um, and how it ends up, how it all ends up. So that's that. That's that. I'll probably go live again Saturday. I wanted to go live because I haven't done so in a while, and usually I have a bunch of friends that come on here and I'm able to talk to. But everyone seems pretty fairly new. Everyone here that I've seen is looks pretty new. So sorry if that was boring, but I don't know. I just felt like getting into it. I wanted to just pour it out, put it out there. Uh, I do plan on teaching some art courses pretty soon. Pretty soon. I'm excited about that. I'm going to create courses that will be in just pencil sketching. I love pencil sketching. It's just one of those things that I love to do, and so I'm going to do courses on it, and also probably do live sketching sessions and weird art sessions probably here to come, and read more books. I love reading books, and so I've been reading them live. Some people enjoy it, but most of the books I'll be reading this year are going to be more or less film oriented. Like I'm getting back into that mode of being a filmmaker again. It's kind of interesting because I've been out of that for so long. You know, it like Stray Kids was such a big thing that it really took a lot out of me, and so it took a long time to like kind of heal from that in a lot of ways, you know. And so the fact that I was able to kind of walk away for a bit from filmmaking, I did do a lot of stuff though during that time that I wasn't doing filmmaking, but it felt good to walk away and just for a couple of years not do anything film related. It felt really nice, and now I can come back with like a fresh take. I feel like my energy, my obsession, my want to do this is just coming back like a tsunami. So it's a very cool feeling. um, so now that I'm older and have this experience and a bit more mature, I'm really interested to see where it all goes from here, you know. So baby steps, writing the script out, it could take all year, but I'm excited to do it. Um, maybe not. It could take probably maybe 4 months, maybe it could take less than that. But I'm very excited about it. That's for sure. I'm getting psyched more and more, when I think about it. So a lot to do this year. A lot to do. Anyways, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go watch. I'm gonna go watch Fiction tonight. I'm gonna go watch Pulp Fiction and kind of enjoy that. I haven't watched that in such a long time. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go watch that and just enjoy the rest of the evening and just kind of go to sleep. So, anyways, y'all have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks for commenting. Uh, and if you're in a different part of the world, that's like afternoon, and good morning. But yeah, I'm gonna go live Saturday just to chill out. I'm kind of more in a relaxed kind of. You noticed I'm not like super hyper. I'm not. I'm just very just. I don't know. Kind of this mode. This kind of like this tone. This mode. It's very laid back. Just. Pure, that's but there'll be times where I'll be energetic because I'll be pretty psyched about stuff that's happening. I've been working hard and trying to get my book out there. I've been reaching out to universities, and of course, universities. I don't think they're in right now. I think for most universities, classes start like mid-January. But I've been emailing professors about my book because I want to do like a book tour. I've emailed news, the news organizations because they interview local people all the time. I've been reaching out to everybody and nobody's responded. And this is a great book. I'm not just saying it because I wrote it, because it took me 2 years to do this. It's a real honest conversations with independent film directors and producers and actors who actually are doing the thing, at a much higher level than I am. And so I'm surprised that nobody's even remotely interested in looking at this. But anyways, yeah, I am. This is a trilogy. It's dialogues, perspective, and critique. So this is the first book out of the trilogy, and it's all about just talk shop filmmaking. So I'm excited for that trilogy. But like I said, this year I will start book two, but I probably won't finish it till next year. But a book I do want to finish and publish this year is a motivational book. The reason why is because I have a lot to say about that. I've been in a very dark place, and it took a lot to get out of it. And I want to tell my story. I want to be inspirational. I have a very inspirational story to tell. You know, um, and so I want to use that to my advantage and to inspire others and kind of get me out of a new into a new kind of an opportunity to get into public speaking, motivational public speaking for corporate businesses, because they still do that, believe it or not. And so there gives me a chance to inspire others. So that's kind of where I'm hoping I can make a lot of my money is motivational speaking. But we'll see. Nothing is easy. Nothing's just given to you. You got to work hard for the things you want in life, and getting monetized. Getting monetized on YouTube is a very hard thing to do. Getting 1,000 subscribers took me all year. It took me all of 2025 to get to 1,000 subscribers. And right now, I'm getting very close. I'm about 200,000 views away from breaking my first 1 million views. So that's probably going to take half a year to get to a million views, probably. Um, but the more important thing about getting monetized is the watched time hours. And you have to hit. I've only been able to hit 1,000 watch time hours. You have to hit 4,000 watch time hours. in a single year to get monetized, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Um, so working on that. If I get monetized, I can sell products. I can sell shirts and coffee mugs and have ads and things like that. But I'm 3,000 away, and I don't even know how I'm going to do that. Well, I'm hoping with Stray Kids and with this new music video that it may. I'm thinking Stray Kids could hit 1 million views on its own. And I'm thinking the music video could also hit 1 million views on its own. So altogether, I think by the end of 2026, I'll be at like 3 million views on YouTube, which isn't bad. It's at a good place. That's a really good place. Um, so yeah. Working it, working it. Just working it. That's all you can do is work it, work it, work it, work it. A lot to do this year. A lot to do, including a film festival that I have to put together. That's another thing I have to work on tomorrow. It's sometime this week is the film festival. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I'll be seeing you soon. Take care, folks. Take care. See you soon. Bye. See you later.